details, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Some people are afraid to go back to work. Really? Dental hygienists are just one of the few professions that are afraid to go back to work because of the nature of their job. Stories like this highlight a key talking point as states decide to open back up for business. Another headline: news stories are also circulating of who is responsible if someone gets coronavirus on the job. This is happening a lot at Amazon. Top ER doctor in New York City commits suicide in the fight against the coronavirus. Please have sympathy for your healthcare workers and be careful if you're heading back to work. Story number 2. It's been a few months. Have we got to know COVID-19 by now? Some top Chinese scientists believe that the coronavirus will be a yearly virus similar to the flu. Another headline: story in Vice says that intentionally infecting people with the coronavirus could be worth it because it may be the only way to find a vaccine. Get this, over 3,000 people have already volunteered to be intentionally infected. Good story. Some predict a second wave of COVID-19 as many grapple with the ways to adjust to living with this virus. So that just lets you know it's not going anywhere anytime soon. An NYC doctor who contracted the virus says it's time to open the economy back up. He feels that things have slowed down in the ER, especially in New York, and he says that we should have a grip on the coronavirus beast by now. This shows you that there's still a lot of different opinions on whether things should open back up and go back to normal operation. Survey in USA Today says that nearly 1/3 of Americans believe that a coronavirus vaccine exists but is being withheld. This shows a huge gap in the awareness factor surrounding this disease. Some surveys show that there are still a large amount of people that think that this virus was cooked up in a lab. A lot of confusion out there. Studies show that hydroxychloroquine has proven ineffective against the coronavirus, according to some reports. According to USA Today, a USDA inspector has died due to the ongoing spread at meatpacking plants of the coronavirus. Meatpacking plant workers have been emerging in a lot of headlines in the fight to defeat the coronavirus, but the Trump administration has declared that they have to stay on the job. Study shows that lockdowns should not be lifted until a vaccine is found. So in story number 2, you can look at all the details on why this is such a big story and why it made it into the top 8 this week. A lot of different views on what is going on inside of this coronavirus fight, and some people say that we should know this disease by now. We should be able to get back to business as usual. That's why story number 2 made it in this week. Story number 3. What does it take for government to be fair? Some businesses won't return loans even after being under pressure to do so by the Trump administration. The government wants to make it fair for smaller businesses that need these loans, especially family-owned businesses. Some people have had a real big problem with Walmart or other big box stores being open, and they haven't been allowed to conduct business. Some entities have rejected help from the government because they feel that there are too many strings attached in the assistance. Some of these requirements say that they have to hire a certain amount of people, and some of these businesses are afraid because they don't know what they're going to do once the money runs out. Big headline. A 13-year-old in Nairobi, Kenya was killed while police enforced a government curfew amid coronavirus. This is a big story. Police are enforcing the law, and citizens are getting confused because they don't like these mandates. China is reportedly installing surveillance cameras outside of people's homes and sometimes inside, according to a report by CNN. The Beijing government says that they are doing this to stop the spread of the coronavirus. This headline highlights the reasons why some people think the government is overstepping their boundaries when dealing with this disease. Big stories. A man had his gun taken after turning to social media to share his belief that the coronavirus is a government conspiracy, adding a lot of fuel to this story. Although many don't trust the government, an article by NPR says they're okay with the government intervening in this crisis. A lot of different opinions on the government being fair, especially in this crisis. They could be getting some valuable information that they didn't have before because of this virus. Big headline, and that's why it's in the top 8 this week. Executives are getting a pretty penny compared to the average American. Some Americans have a problem with how people obtain wealth in this country. Many don't feel that the system is fair and that they feel that the government needs to do something about this unfair system. Some don't see anything wrong with people having wealth, but a lot of people don't think that the system is fair, including some politicians. Another headline, according to a ruling by the Supreme Court, the government must pay out $12 billion to insurers enrolled in the Obamacare Risk Corridor program. Big headline as the government continues to try to be fair, if they are fair already. According to the Washington Post, a huge number of Americans are still waiting on their first unemployment check. Now that's big because people need money to pay the bills. Republicans may want to act quick if they want the young vote. Democrats are on the move because younger voters are in dire need and they want a better system that is fair. That is why story number 3 is such a big story and why it made it into the top 8 this week. Story number 4. How important is seeking a higher education and especially graduating high school? Data shows that the majority of crime-riddled neighborhoods have a lack of higher education levels. Big headline. Some states are battling with the challenge of starting school back up in the summer to make up for missed time. This as the coronavirus hampers the hopes of getting students back into the classroom as soon as possible. Another headline that you may want to check out, many billionaires stress the importance of reading rather than going to college. Many feel that this is the key to being successful in the United States. Now, this is depending on how people define success. A report by CNBC claims that some students are deciding to skip out on college because of the financial burdens of the coronavirus. This could be because of the new awareness surrounding the cost of investing in oneself and investing in education, showing you that a lot of kids out there, this new generation, needs the advice from people who have been in college. There's also some headlines you want to check out. Many college students are not pleased that they've been left out of the stimulus package money, the coronavirus stimulus money. That's been another headline. You could just look at this story and see there's a lot of students that are in need, and they need advice, and they're worried about their decisions in life, and they really need advice on the importance of investing in oneself. Another headline to check out. Student loan borrowers are also in need of some serious legislation to help them with the loans taken out to better their education. Reports of paychecks being garnished are surfacing rapidly. This is after the Trump administration announced that they would not be garnishing paychecks during the shutdowns. This is a big headline. Trump apparently also blocked DACA recipients from billions in aid earmarked for college students affected by the coronavirus. Another big story is just really homing in on the pros and cons of college. Big story. Some new bills are being floated around Congress for student aid. The most recently passed is the CARES Act. Keep an eye on the pros and cons that are being lashed out of going to school. This next generation is feeling that this is not a smart investment into themselves. Big story. That's why story number 4 is at number 4, and it made it to the top 8 headlines this week. We'll be right back. I'm going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You are in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Coronavirus has put a spotlight on the importance of small businesses and investing into the small business family-owned sector. This has layoffs continue to mount as the coronavirus crisis continues in many areas. These layoffs are coming from the small business sector, where the jobs and the growth and the families allow people to put their items in the stores, and the importance of small business can be emphasized. And there was a story that made it this week that they want to know if big box stores can be open, why can't they? This is a big fight and really could change the scale of how this country operates if something like this ever occurs again. Some big businesses are in need of help, but like I said, the small businesses say they need help more when it comes to the stimulus programs. Big story number 5 is really going to change the future of how this country handles the small business sector, and it may be a plus for the small business sector because it is shining attention on their needs as well, and how the price battles occur in the online market, the retail sector, and why they are forced to close their doors because they cannot make a profit. There may be a lot of new laws put in place. Legislation is always the thing that addresses these problems, and there may be some new small business lobbyists. Who knows how this will turn out. Story number 6. The poor may have no place in the world without sacrifices and aid. Big story, because the poor play a big part in how in the crime levels and drugs and how and why people become poor, and getting them back into society because they don't know what to do with all of the poor people inside of the society. That's why they need a place in this world. Migrants reportedly fleeing Colombia because of COVID-19 lockdown. These are poor people trying to find a place to live. New headlines are emerging that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly inside of the prison system. Another big headline. An article in USA Today speaks on the many challenges that come with homelessness and disease. The article focuses on how aid workers face the decision to serve and put their life in danger when caring for the poor. Whew. Mediation can be tough, and being a public servant can be tough, but somebody's got to do the job. Somebody has got to sacrifice for the greater good of the public. Homeless people, another headline, are being forced to live in some unusual conditions while everyday Americans try to balance their checkbook. Homeless people are out on the street. They have no financial backing. They have nothing but a donation and a hope and a prayer. This is why churches say that they need your investment and your donation during this time of crisis. It is also evident that this virus gives no justice to poor people, as some are even predicting famines on biblical proportions if people do not center their attention on this big problem that we have when it comes to getting the wasted food to the poor and somehow caring for the poor. It is biblical in the Bible that poor people would always be around if you want to take it to the Bible. Big headline number 6. Story number 7, and the top 2 international news stories that made it this week. Stories that you may want to be aware of. Keep an eye on. Stay informed. Does there need to be a civilian emergency currency issued by the states to balance the power of big government in times of emergencies? Big headline. There are new ideas popping up all over the place on how to keep people financially sound in times of crisis. The majority of the discussions have to do with money because without a job in a time of crisis, you need money to survive because you have to pay for services, you have to pay for goods. 3.4 million homeowners may have skipped their mortgage payments in this time of crisis. This is bad news for the housing system. So this is showing you that money plays a big role in the time of crisis, and this is why most people need an emergency fund. An Italian town has reportedly printed its own money to assist residents in need in the midst of the coronavirus lockdown. They gave out banknotes. So this shows you that there may be some new ideas on how money, whether it's silver or what you're investing in a time of emergency. Big headline. A report last week said that McConnell feels that states should be able to declare bankruptcy. Story number 7 homes in on the financial problem. That's why it's in the top 2 stories this week, and that's why this is a big issue that is only getting bigger. Story number 8 and the top international news story that made it in this week. Big story. What other ways can government make money without taxes? Now, with the weight on the federal government, there is a lot of new discussion on how the government makes and spends its money, especially when dealing with foreign affairs. Big headline, and this discussion is taking place. This discussion takes center stage as many budgets have had to be adjusted. This is locally and nationally due to a lack of tax income in this time of crisis. Story number 8 is a big story. That's why I said at the top this week. Some feel that the government makes enough. It just has to get a hold of its spending. This has a lot to do with the debt, the big national debt that the United States faces and the debt that they have with other countries. As more people become aware of government spending, this could be a lifeline for the future of how spending is done in government, in Congress. Many blame the war in the Middle East for the bulk of government spending in this new day and age. And get this, post-Saddam Iraq is still suffering. There was a lot of money spent in that war. China reportedly has stockpiled 76 million barrels of oil since the last lockdown, leaving spectators in a heated debate about government spending when in debt to other countries. I guess what the article and the headline is talking about is, how is China spending money and why are they spending money when we have this administration that has been pressing them and other countries are in need, that need oil? And you can see that the advantages inside of story number 8 always goes to the person who has the money and the governments who have the money to spend, and the people who don't have the money usually have to suffer, and the countries that are poor usually have to suffer. A lot of engagement taking place inside of story number 8. Another headline you may want to check out. Due to COVID-19, governments are paying companies to move their manufacturing out of China. So maybe China is preparing for the worst. Last headline in the top 8 this week. State and local governments are expecting layoffs in the push for federal assistance. So a lot of layoffs coming as people are pushing. The federal government is just milking and leaking money in this crisis. Big stories, and that's why these stories need to be looked at and taken seriously. Stay informed. That's the best thing to do in times like this. Well, those are our top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. As usual, think positive, and I want to thank, I always like to do this, I want to thank all the news outlets and journalists that keep us informed. You deserve all the credit. I am just a mediator. My big thing for this week is try to stay positive. Try to move that money the best way you can. And if you don't have any money, remember, closed mouths do not get fed. Put your voice in democracy. Be active, and stay encouraged. Try to listen to the professionals if you trust them. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I am out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Stay safe, and please do the right thing. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program.